Welcome to the Tenfold AI podcast. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good, good. And I have to read this ad from one of our sponsors, otherwise we get in big trouble and the contract goes away. You know, 'cause this podcast is sponsored by Promo.ai, the AI marketing platform built for B2B companies who are sick of wasting time and money on bloated marketing workflows. Here's the deal. Most marketing teams are stuck in what we call the Frankenstack. 6 different logins, tools that don't talk to each other, and endless approval loops that kill your best ideas before they see the light of day. Promo changes that. One login, one platform, end-to-end marketing, strategy, research, content creation, approvals, and publishing, and analytics all in one place. And it's not some generic chatbot. Promote uses enterprise-level AI like retrieval augmented generation, so your content is accurate, brand-trained, and built to actually move the needle. Whether you sell into 3 industries or 30, Promote creates web, email, and social content for each audience aligned with your business goals in minutes, not months. Bottom line, you'll do more with less, and you'll finally have the ROI proof your C-suite wants. Right now, Promote is waiving the $5,000 onboarding fee for new clients. Go to promo.ai, book a live demo, see how powerful marketing gets you. See how powerful marketing gets when you fire the Frankenstack. Offer available till 5 minutes from now.
Yeah. If you're the 10th caller to call.
Right. Text Frankenstack to star.
I was listening to like terrestrial radio, my car, before the Apple CarPlay comes on. It's always on like a radio station,
Yeah.
and I kept it on and they were doing, it was really fun. This was yesterday. They were playing, it was like a classic rock station, and they would play guitar lick from a song. And if you were the 10th caller to call in and guess the song, you won tickets to some concert. And I'm like, man, I really do kind of miss those days
Yeah, what
of,
a throwback.
did you ever call into a radio station?
No, I was just talking to my husband about this the other day. There was a FM station, probably like 95.3 or something, that used to do like song dedications. And I would listen to that at like 12 years old as if somebody I knew was going to, I wanted some boy, I didn't even care who, to just call in and request like Boys to Men. It never happened because I was homeschooled and didn't know anybody. And my husband's like, oh, I used to call into those all the time and request songs for girls. And I'm like, God, wrong place, wrong time.
That's romantic. That's really
I
romantic.
know.
Nice job, Rob.
Yeah, he's like, it was just kids who would call in. And I was like, really? They always sounded like so old. He's like, no, it's a bunch of like 15, 16-year-old kids calling into those shows.
What Boyz II Men song would you want somebody to dedicate to you?
Well, I don't know. There's only one that's coming to mind, and it would have been really inappropriate at 12 years old to have that
Yeah.
song dedicated to me.
I'll make love to
Right.
you. I knew it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You're a child. I didn't know what that meant. I was an innocent kid. It's fun.
Real quick, before we get too deep into it, turn the gain down on your mic just a touch if you're going to be up on there.
Maybe I'm too close to it.
Either one would be, yeah.
Yeah.
You're kind of getting distorted. You sounded like you could be like a backup singer in my band with that
Yeah.
distortion.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk about the Frankenstack. I love this. So I am so guilty of throwing tools at problems with no system around it.
Well,
This
we all
is,
are.
yeah, yep, it is. It is very tempting. And it's, this is particularly common amongst marketers, amongst, and maybe it's not marketers. I'm wondering if this is common amongst creative people, wherein the workflow, the nuts and bolts of things, they're like, okay, I'm going to document the process, the way that this thing happens every single time, regardless of who's working for me. Uh, I'm wondering if that seems to be a difficult exercise for the creative brain.
Sure.
And so it is fascinating. It, like, we joke about it as a Frankenstack, but it truly is one of these things that can be death by a thousand paper cuts. I It's crazy. I mean, I still have today, I still get requests for, hey, I mean, these are like companies I haven't been a part of for years. I still get text messages. Hey, where is this thing? Do you have this login for this thing? Where was this subscription set up? I mean, it can be, it's not a problem until it's a major problem, you know?
Yeah. Well, there's so many facets to the problem. If you're the C-suite, the problem with the Frankenstack is you probably are paying for a lot of stuff that nobody's using anymore, or you're barely scraping the surface of the value that you're actually paying for. I know that's very common with like every CRM. You might use 10% of its power, but you're paying for 100% of it. Or, and then the other facet is the workflow. Like your workflow is clunky, it's siloed, and i- there's not stability because there's not enough data housed in one of these software tools. So it's just you're seeing little glimpses of your productivity of it's just really hard to paint a full picture when you're using all these different tools. And I think it's becoming like it's reaching a fever pitch with AI because and I was just thinking of this before we hopped on today. I think so many companies are still using AI as an add-on. It's yet another thing that they're logging into. It's siloed as well. So that's just an additional workflow, clunky cog in the wheel, as opposed to like AI adoption, where it's kind of addition through subtraction. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
taking away a bunch of logins, you're really focusing on the workflow. And I think that's still a huge oversight, especially in mid-market, that AI isn't just the thing that can write something cool for you, save you some money on hiring a copywriter, that it can actually radically overhaul your entire workflow with automation and machine learning and the other facets of AI.
Yeah, I, so I'm increasingly getting the sense, especially with the release of GPT-5, that the first AI that anybody touched being ChatGPT or Gemini, one of these tools, it's created this weird momentary blip in technology where that's everybody's reference point for AI is that. So there's still in user behavior, there's still this thing where output needs to be transferred from my chat to this
Yeah.
other thing here. But I think when it comes to business use, like, I think people will start to realize that Chat GPT's inference training is set up for mass adoption for personal use. Like, just the economics
Yeah.
do not make sense. I mean, OpenAI would never, like, what they would need to charge users for that to be like a powerful, persistent memory context, like data warehouse for business use, and certainly at the enterprise level, they just would never do it. So I think we're going to start to see this split where people
Yeah.
start to recognize not only the limitations in the workflow, but the limitations of the power access that you have for the foundational models. I think maybe a way to illustrate this would be like okay, you remember going bowling as a kid, and you probably did it. Was that like a dirty dancing situation for you growing up?
No, I think I was allowed to go bowling once or twice. Bowling is the devil. Bobby, bowling is the devil.
Okay, so you know how they would put they would inflate the bumpers in the gutters
Mhm.
so that the ball ding 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 ding. So a good way to illustrate that is inference training. How an under so there's an underlying model, right? So like let's say GPT-4 is an underlying model, and then when a new release comes out, they do a bunch of training on the questions that people ask it. So, when you ask for a recipe, it's training. They run training, inference training on trying to figure out all of the different ways somebody might ask for a recipe. And so that might be you saying, give me a recipe for chicken stir fry. Another way that somebody might ask for a recipe would be, I have chicken and carrots and bell peppers. What should I make?
Mhm.
That it does take inference. Like recipe was not stated anywhere in there. So inference training is saying, okay, we have all of these questions about people giving us ingredients. Are fairly certain that that means that they want a recipe. That's what inference training is. And so if you are a foundational model provider like OpenAI, you are incentivized to have as many people. You want volume on your platform. You want billions and billions of users. And so your inference training is always going to revert to the mean of those users. So you want to catch the broadest cross section of people using it and give them a good experience. So inference training is always going to be putting up the bumpers in the gutter of the bowling lane so that the most people have a good experience on it. And so naturally, when it comes to like sophisticated enterprise applications of AI, you're not going to want those bumpers up in the gutters. You've got more sophisticated needs that need to come out of it. So as the foundational models want to appeal to the broader cross section of $20 a month users, this is their end goal. As that starts to go up, as the inference training starts to revert to the mean user, which includes your grandma. You know what I mean? Like that is who is in this mean user base.
Yeah.
Well, then naturally the business use case for these types of applications begins to deteriorate. So as personal experience elevates and larger volume of users get onto these platforms, there is a negative downstream effect for sophisticated use of these tools, and that's the bumpers in the middle of the lane. So yeah, so I think that will have a natural like downstream Frankenstack effect. I think that in order for people to abandon their tech debt, there will have to be a significantly improved experience for business use case so that new employees can just hop into the thing and use it right away.
Yeah. Well, you actually can now. I think as of this week, as a business, you can engage OpenAI for business use
Mhm.
for $10 million because they're now offering consulting at minimum $10 million contracts for
That's
businesses,
it's crazy.
which I think we should be talking about a lot because
Yeah.
that tells you right there that I mean that is the underline under the statements you just made about the limitations of OpenAI. And I'll be using it in promote conversations for sure. Like, okay, you're using ChatGPT for business. Have you paid OpenAI $10 million because that's the minimum price tag they're putting on business adoption integration of their product. Isn't that
Wow.
wild? You
I'm
didn't see
look
that one come across your
I'm
feed this week?
I'm seeing this for the first time right now. Here, let me pull it up real quick. This is
Like, that should be all any business owner, and maybe, if you're a small business and you're bootstrapping and you're scrappy, I understand. Use ChatGPT, do your thing, get the value you can out of it. But if you're you know, a sophisticated growth business and you're a $20 million company or $50 million company, this is the this is the superpower that you really need to adopt OpenAI, to adopt, you know, what
yeah,
AI can do for you. Uh, inside marketing,
this is
outside marketing, it's like
very
probably every department.
this is very cool.
Yeah.
This is really, really cool. This sentence jumped out at me. I mean, this is just spot on. The power is not in the LLM. It's a commodity. Yes. I've been
Yeah.
saying this. It's a utility. The underlying
Right.
models are a utility. That's
Yeah.
all it is. It is how much now the LLMs are incredibly powerful, just remarkably powerful, but there is a massive gap in between that LLM's power and how people are using it. So that integration layer, the stack in between the end user and the LLM is like monumentally important. It is so
Yeah.
it's almost impossible to overstate that piece.
Right. Well, and it's like, why did they announce this? That they're now offering $10 million consulting contracts for business use? I think they did not announce this so that they could get more $10 million consulting contracts.
Hmm.
They announced that probably as a public message for what we just talked about. Like, hey, if you're a business and you're frustrated with OpenAI or ChatGPT and you're not getting the value that you think you should, here's
Hmm.
take a clue. It's going to cost $10 million to tailor this suit to you.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, and that is, you bring up a fundamental feature of AI deployment inside of businesses. Unlike any software or technology up until today, each business deployment is a one of one. Every deployment is a fully custom deployment. This is the expectation of AI. And like in our case with it's to me, what I see it like true enterprise adoption of AI is going to be you have a department. So like we are deploying AI for this department, or maybe you can start to lump multiple departments together. But then the input and output for that department, it would look entirely different from company to company. And
Absolutely.
that's the expectation. So there you can either do that through consulting, as we're seeing here. Another way to do that is you build the middle layer architecture that creates that customization, that one of one. Like this is the software of AI. The software layer is not in like I had here, let me so I was talking with a friend of mine who is a cloud computing expert. So just kind of like helping fill in some of my knowledge gaps with as pro mode scales, gonna be I'm gonna be over my skis as far as infrastructure is concerned. And so I've been just trying to learn as much as I can. So we last weekend we were hanging out and I was kind of just walking him through the basic architecture of Pro Mode. And it was very interesting. Like he said something that I'd never considered before. He said, your UI could be built overnight. Somebody could vibe code your entire application. They can see it all on their console. They could use Chrome developer tools. Like, there is no longer anything proprietary in your UI. But then he did say something profound. He's like, it's in your LLM processes, it's in your system prompts, it's your Python libraries. How are all of these things integrated with one another? This is the new, like, proprietary workflow of a company. And that struck me. I was like, of course, it's going to be in the engineering of your workflows on the AI side of it that will
Mm-hmm.
differentiate one application from another. It's not the fact that you can click generate content, or it's not the fact that you have this particular UI over that particular UI, or you've got a really cool design. It's aesthetically pleasing. Again, these things can all be copied overnight now. That you do not need a team of developers. You don't need an investor to do all of these things. But the proprietary part of a AI company's moat is in how they stack together LLMs with machine learning, with context engineering. This is the only thing that matters now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so then,
Would another way to explain that be the proprietary piece is how your data or your client's data interacts with AI?
exactly, it is, how do you bridge the gap between a large language model and the input? Like, at that right there, that gap is like, okay, if I were to put a number on it, I would say today, if you created a custom GPT and you were feeding it input, you're probably getting a 2%, it's probably 2% throughput on how much of the power of the underlying large language model are you accessing. You're probably getting a 2% throughput on it. Uh, juxtapose that with, now you have this really sophisticated layer that bridges the gap between input and the LLM. You can stack up some different technologies inside of there that can increase that throughput to like 30, 40%, and just through testing and iteration. I mean, like, whether you ever, I think 100% would be just absolutely insane, but can you get a 20x increase in the throughput to the underlying LLM? Absolutely, you can do that.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask about this, and I hope it's okay on this podcast. Why not? You spoke yesterday, and I'm dying to hear about it, to a bunch of fractional CMOs. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that what they are? How'd that go?
Yeah, agency owner, fractional CMOs. It was good. It was good. It's a group that I've been a part of. Yeah, it was good. You know, the back to the is I'm glad that you started with the Frankenstack comparison, because that was definitely top of mind after this particular meeting. It I don't know, it's like tough to put my finger on what is going on. It's a lot of SaaS show and tell, I think, if I were to just sum it up. It is, check out this cool video tool, check out that cool video tool, check out, like, again, this goes back to, I think, just the first AI that people not considering AI until they saw ChatGPT put a just inherent limit on how they can conceptualize it. I'm realizing that people will need to see examples of just the upstream and downstream available tooling that exists in addition to ChatGPT. So there's, you know what I mean? Like, the idea of a user prompt is something that is just really fixed in people's mind. So yeah, I think broadly that's kind of the thing that I'm noticing, and certainly amongst marketers, it is a lot of like one tool kind of show and tell. sort of situation. And I think that that's just, it is what it is. Like no value statement on it at all. I think it just is a matter of like, it's the difference between where my interest was sparked when it comes to AI, and then realizing that the rest of the world kind of saw a really small window of what it can do for the first time.
Hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense at all. I don't
I
know.
think so.
I'm dancing around the subject
Yeah,
a little
yeah,
bit. I think, okay, you know what I mean? Completely. I am finding myself in a like early adopter dilemma where I just do kind of want to be like, you have no idea how cool this can
yeah.
be. Let, but I also don't know how to communicate that. You know what I mean? Because I learned about it with terminology that is just not a part of the the conversation today. Now, do I think that there will be a slingshot effect where people start to realize limitations, try to break AI, try to reach the outer edges of what's possible? Then I think they start to learn about some of these different AI techniques that can be used. But I would say just broadly, I find myself, I don't know if it's like disappointed or frustrated. I I mean, you know me, I love this shit. I like legitimately enjoy it outside of work, outside of business. It just fascinates me to no end. And so anytime I get latched onto something like that, um, I want other people to see the cool thing that I see. I have this like deep need, like a deep, insatiable need to like share something I love with people. And so I'm finding myself like increasingly disappointed when we're just kind of like looking at different tools. That sort of disappoints me. I want to talk about, let's talk about this thing like holistically. Let's talk about like the underlying technology and what that might mean for all of these different applications. How can we begin to think about the future of this? I wish there were more of that.
Yeah. Well, just to kind of walk it back a little, it's like in the marketing world, the conversation for years has been strategy versus tactics. Agencies love to talk about strategy, and we develop these strategies, and other people are playing in tactics. And that if you're a business owner, or anybody who has read The Art of War, you understand the difference between those. And strategy is a more sophisticated approach to solving a problem, right? I'm first going to think of, um, who are we talking to? What is our angle of attack? Like, you're thinking in a very, like, and like it's a broad conversation strategy. And then tactics are the day to day. What are we doing to move that strategy forward, right? And the Frankenstack, these tech stacks with many different tools that each do one thing, they almost force marketers to be purely tactical. And we've talked about this a lot, and it's fascinating when we have a new client and they're a marketing director and they do know something about strategy. And it's like they realize when they start using Pro Mode and begin with strategy, they input a strategy, and then the content flows from that. It's like the light bulb comes on. My God, I have been living in tactics for my entire career. Because unless you're at
Yeah.
a huge company with a giant budget, implementing those strategies for real is not even possible. So, what the middle market calls marketing strategy is really nothing more than a few tactics. Like, if your digital marketing strategy is 2 blogs a month and paying some people in Indonesia or the Philippines or wherever to buy some backlinks for you, if that's your digital marketing strategy, you can just remove the word marketing from that, because there's no actual marketing happening. You're merely trying to hack a system with keywords. That's it. There's no value being added to the end user almost ever. Like, you're not differentiating yourself from your competitors at all. Like, there's no marketing strategy. So as we present ProMode to a bunch of fractional CMOs or agency owners, it's like you really have to encourage them to go back to those strategy roots, like textbook, what is marketing strategy, how to speak that language. And we encourage, ProMode users, don't think of your marketing on a per content piece basis. Like you don't have to order a Facebook post or order a blog or order a whatever. You put the concept in. Who are we targeting? What are their pain points? What products or services map to that audience? And the content flows from that. All channels,
Hmm.
your website, is that making sense?
Yeah, here I'll color it with an example. Wednesday, I was doing onboarding with a new client, and we were integrating email marketing with Promo. So I got from like four different people in the organization separately, I got the same question. And the question was, how many emails per month or week to which lists? And every one of them, I answered the exact same. I was like, I know you want me to give you a number, but the answer to that is, how many interesting stories do you have to tell? That's the number. Like,
Mm,
how much, and then look at your list. Like, you have a list that's called business owner. Okay. So first off, how many lists can that be? Like, when we answer this question, you need to ask your business owner list. One of them owns a doggy daycare. The other one owns a pickleball franchise. In what world are those two people on the same list? Like, do you have cool doggy daycare stories? Do you have cool pickleball stories? Okay, cool. There's one email for this list. There's an email for this list over here. So now we're at two. Let's just continue going down the
yeah.
line. So your 10 lists realistically should probably be like 40 lists. So again, this is thinking strategically. It is segment though. I mean, God dang, when you can have just that is the thing. That is the thing with AI, is that because the keyboard work is no longer necessary, the actual keyboard work, the template copying, I envision a world where email marketing lists have like 80 people in them. I mean, segment the shit out of those lists. Why would you not? I mean, like, and you can segment them all kinds of ways, but it is still, like you're saying, it is, you kind of realize that everybody has been living in this tactical world. I mean,
Yeah.
even the most sophisticated marketers are still kind of looking for that answer of how many emails a month is the right number of emails. And the truth is, for every business, for every list, for every topic, for every story, there's going to be a different answer to that. That's why AI deployment for like legitimate business use case is a one of one. Like, your email marketing program might be, you may use the strategy of having 50 people lists that are so hyper segmented that the thing that they get from you once a week is just an absolute banger. And your open rates on that hyper segmented list are 80%. Your click through rate is 40% on that list, because you have truly taken the time to think through the human first, story first segmentation strategy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know these customers. I've sold shit to all of them. I know exactly what keeps them up at night. Cool. That's now how you segment your list. That's now how you build your email marketing program, because, like, to generate an email, you can now generate 100 in that same amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And so long as you're using like very sophisticated AI workflows, like Pro Mode, this is possible. It's not going to be like complete dog shit 100 emails. It will be like 100 emails that are driving exactly to the like core pain points of that hyper segmented list. And
Mm-hmm.
so it like you can't those types of questions you can't even answer. How many blogs do I post a month? I don't know. How much new shit do you have going on in your business? How many cool stories do you have? How many questions came in through your like info at inbox this week? That's the number. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Like it's
Yeah. Well, it's quite a feat, and it's like what a time to be alive. I feel like I've said that like 3 times this week, because the gentle message to the mid-market business owner or marketing director is, and I've said this before on this podcast, the best practices frequency that you have been told for years on blogging, on social output, on email marketing has nothing to do with what actually moves the needle. It was always predicated by your budget,
yeah,
period. Your strategy was limited by how much an hour costs and how much work could be done within that hour. Math was done. Agency owners said, you know what? We're going to tell every client 2 posts a week are all you need. 2 blogs a month are all you need. Here's an SEO package. 1 email newsletter a month, because they knew that's what they could operationally fulfill within a budget that the business owner could tolerate.
exactly.
It had nothing to do with performance, with true best practices. This will create meaningful change in your business, which is why 6 months after you sign that engagement, they're like, you need to spend more money in ads.
Hmm.
Raise your hand if you're a
Hmm.
business owner and you've not heard that before.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I've told it to hundreds of business owners because I came from that world, and that was the system of the moment. The system has changed. And so I just keep encouraging clients, because I'm a simple gal. Like, I look at things and make conclusions on a pretty simple basis, maybe too simple. But to a business owner who doesn't want to learn everything about marketing, and they don't, if you own a construction company, if you own you're a concrete company, you're not going to go learn everything about marketing and AI. But the question is, look at your biggest competitor. Take 5 minutes, look at their social pages, like market leader, national level brand, look at their output. Not only the quality, look at the quantity as well, and ask yourself, why are they doing that? Is it just because they really like writing checks to marketers and to agencies? Or is it because they know something that works that you have not yet had access to?
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
There's a really great Hootsuite study that I've sent to a couple of people about social output in particular, metric. Um, every study that they dive into is the kind of same outcome. It's post on every platform at least once a day. What company under 300 million in revenue is doing that? Almost none.
And let's use your example of commercial construction, right? So like, mid-market commercial construction firms generally serve broad segments. So you've got like multi-tenant residential developers and contract like general contractors. You've got public works projects. So even in the public works projects, you have school boards and then you have city council members. And then you've got like commercial developers. So like mixed use commercial development. So and then mixed use commercial development for restaurants, for like
Right.
for retail. So you don't even need to like, you know what I mean? So if you're not the type of person that would even want to go look at my enterprise competitors, intuitively, like you have sold to a school board. You know exactly what they're talking about, what they're thinking about, what's important to them. And that is and you definitely know that that is entirely different than when you're selling. I mean, when you're selling something to somebody who's writing the check personally, I mean, if this is like a single person who is a real estate developer and they're like just getting started, and this person is signing, like, that that person will write a $10 million check that is coming out of their family's checking account. Okay, they feel a certain way about selecting a contractor for that job. A school board is going to be writing a $250 million check. It ain't theirs. The things that they consider when writing that check is going to be entirely different. So
Right.
you just know that, like, okay, so now if you're going to like put out one piece of marketing content, it immediately needs to be two. Like, real estate investor, school board, that should be two.
Mm-hmm.
And then, or even public private. Let's say that's our first branch. So what would have been one post honestly should be two. On the public branch, you've got schools and education and you've got public works. There's another branch. That one just became three, and then so on and so forth. Like, the this is actual strategy. Strategy
Yeah.
is not volume. Strategy starts with your customer. Like, it starts with your customer's needs, their problems. Like, that is the answer to all of these tactical things. All of the tactical questions are answered when you just start from that basic point. How different are all of my customers? And what is
Mm-hmm.
important to each of them?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but I think my tone has changed since we launched. Like, I was pretty salty about some things. Yeah. I'm a passionate person, okay?
Mhm.
And I think I saw through the lens of like injustice, the injustice that's happening with marketing agencies, with tactics and not strategy, with content that doesn't move the needle and feeling very strongly about business owners kind of getting shafted. And I still feel passionate about that, but I think I've learned a lot, and thinking of like the Frankenstack scenario is one example. Marketers, agencies, they have been operating in a really robotic system, in a really siloed kind of workflow, because that is the best that could be done at the time. And I'm no longer angry about that. Like, I don't blame I don't blame them because I understand. Like, it was what it was. You needed all these different tools and logins to accomplish anything, and they did the best they could with what they had. But the message now is like things have changed. There is now a better way. We can go back to thinking like humans and not like robots. And we've talked about that before on this podcast. Like, that's the interesting, like, well, there's got to be a word for that, like a surprising.
Like a juxtaposition,
Yeah, it's
perhaps.
like an unexpected. At its face, it doesn't make sense. Why would AI, artificial intelligence, we think of robots, we think of, you know, humans lacking creativity and just their brains melt to goo using AI, but the reality is you can stay in strategy. You can think more creatively. Like, just yesterday, talked to a new client who just signed. They're a medical device company, and the marketing director, he sees it, he gets it, and he's so excited. Um, he was sharing something creative with me that he had done. I don't remember what it was, and I said, "Yeah, that's the fun part of the job, right?" And he goes, "Yeah, but that's like 0.5% of my job." Doing stuff like that. And I said, "I am really excited for that to become more like 50% of your job, using Pro Mode to lift all of these other things just off of your brain. Because it's really hard to just, as a fairly creative person, and you are too, you know how difficult it is to click from one gear to another, to click from a creative gear where you really are being imaginative and Not just creative in copy or design, but strategic thinking. Who should we go after? What associations should we, you're those creative brain parts are all firing, and then you have to find your damn login for your Sprout Social,
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
or you have to email the contractor who's doing XYZ for you, describe what you need in a way that they can hopefully understand, and then they don't get back to you for 3 more days. You're no longer in that creative zone. You have to find your way back to it mentally. Like, this is all very jarring.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I do love that. I mean, it is so true. It's Gosh, it's what I felt. Just AI clears the room to be more human. I mean, it really does. There's like, if all of a sudden you can store and process all of this data, all of the nuts and bolts stuff, like the research, the compiling of research, if now all of a sudden this is all taken care of, and all you have to do is recognize some interesting thing that somebody might want to hear about. All you like, it's like the most human thing ever. And for a professional marketer or an agency owner, it also allows you to begin marketing your clients' businesses in the way that you market your own, which has always been a suspicious thing to me, where you like, okay, so if you're an agency and you choose your demographic as small business owners, you generally have to niche down to like 3 or 4 specific industries to be able to copy and paste that. So you're predictable audiences, predictable solution sets, like, and then if you're an agency or professional marketer that targets mid-market, you generally are niching down into one industry because it can be put into a pipeline, right? But the way that you're marketing your own business is very different than you are marketing your clients' businesses. When you're marketing your own, you are niching down into problem sets. You're getting, I mean, that's another key benefit of niching down, not just that you can like copy and paste a tactical workflow, but because it's easier for you to market your business because you can learn about the pain points, solutions, the things that keep those people up at night. And so
Yeah.
it's like, it's always been interesting how a marketer will market themselves very strategically. But then when it comes to client work, it's a lot of like tactical repetition. But like you said, that's because there's not been tooling that can account for that. But this now opens the door for marketers to be able to deliver work for their clients that they would deliver for themselves.
Yeah. Well, like, I think you're maybe talking about more sophisticated agencies. In my experience, agencies really suck at marketing themselves. And it's like a very common problem, especially in agencies under 10 million. They are all full service. We do everything for everyone. They don't niche at all. And that's a problem. And they're not really very good at niching down for their clients either. But it's kind of funny if you think of like a contractor or a construction company or professional services. If in the boardroom they have a conversation, we're going to add a new vertical. We're going to go into K-12. We're going to go into, we want restaurants, whatever that new vertical is. The first thing they will do is hire a salesperson with experience selling into that vertical. They may add a page on the website, a drop down menu. We now do that one, and that's it. But I think what we would encourage is take that same idea of let's hire a salesperson. Why are you doing that? Yes, they have relationships into that industry, but they also understand the problems that they're solving. They understand the language that that prospect pool speaks with, right? Just extrapolate that into your marketing as well. Like,
Mm,
spin that up, use that language. Don't just add a service page to approach that new audience. Like, develop it out in strategy,
Yeah,
and
that
AI makes that
salesperson,
possible.
I'm telling you, yeah. I mean, gosh, a 15-minute interview with that salesperson could create all the marketing collateral for that industry that you need. It does. Finally, marketing can be a direct reflection of that sales conversation. Like it can, I mean, nobody likes an experience of have from the marketing materials. I have this particular impression of this company. I actually then become a customer and get into the sales experience and the customer experience. And this thing is entirely different than I thought it was. I mean, that is not a good customer experience there. But now you can have the ability. I mean, how great would that also be as a salesperson if every new lead that is coming through the door or scheduling time with you has just been all of your web copy, your social presence, every email that they've received from you looks exactly like that sales conversation. What sales team, like, how much of sales is just like that person? Okay, let me kind of like back you down from the impression that you thought this was going to be like,
Uh-huh.
or the culture that you think that we're going to be like. Yeah, I know you saw this, LinkedIn fucking whatever, like to not have to backpedal that, to be able to step into a sales conversation, ready to roll. This person I'm talking to is fully brought up to speed on what this company is about. And our sales conversation is going to look just like our marketing collateral. That is a home run for everyone.
It is for everybody, and I haven't talked about this much in a while, but if you're a business owner in mid-market, let's say you're a $50 million company or $20 million company, there is a very careful dance between the sales team and that business owner. And the smaller your sales team is, the more sales rock stars you have, the more over leveraged you are. And it's a risky position. If you've got less than 3 salespeople who make up more than 50% of your revenue, that's dangerous. It's dangerous for the value of your company when you want to sell. It's dangerous for the relationships between the salespeople and the business owner. Most business owners I know both love and hate their top salesperson, because they really do become the rudder of your ship. So if you're not selling on brand, meaning your prospect isn't familiar with your value props and your culture, and they aren't coming to you for some affinity preference. They're coming to you because they knew Steve from college and Steve is your salesperson. Whatever Steve sells them and packages up, and the caveats he makes to your services and the concessions he's making uh, to get the deal done, Mr. Business Owner just has to eat it. Well, I guess we're going to do that. Okay, we're a commercial roofing company. We're going to do your buddy's residential roof, I guess. And that's, a bit of a caricature of an example, but the tail wags the dog. So the
Yeah.
other reason larger B2B companies invest heavily in their marketing and brand building and have for years is to insulate the company from sales. Like, sales is great, cool, but guess what? We have a solid stream of qualified buyers who really like what we're doing. So guess what? No, I'm not going to raise your commission. You are replaceable. Yes, you do have to adopt the CRM. Put everything in there because I want full attribution of this marketing. You don't want to adopt the CRM? Guess what? There's a younger, fresher, slicker salesperson behind you waiting for a job. It's a control mechanism. Brand building, attracting new customers who already know and like who you are and what you're doing is sales insurance.
Yes. If you're unable to place personnel into an existing system, an existing pipeline, that pipeline, like whatever that funnel, that pipeline, whatever you want to call it, that is equity. That's like on your balance sheet kind of
Yeah.
equity. And if this is a thing to where every human that comes into your organization is their own pipeline, that is a risky, risky move. Whereas
Really?
if you have this entire thing set up already, plug people in as you need them, get them out if they're not like on
Yeah.
board with the system. Now all of a sudden you have some resilience as a business.
Resilience, totally. It's not about firing everybody and hiring only robots and people being, it's about making each individual person happier in their job because they can stay in their zone of genius more often. And it's about knowing that if something happens to those people, marketing director leaves, CMO exits for whatever reason, that there's stability, there's infrastructure, and that the business is going to be okay. It's putting more ownership to the business owner without taking anything from the person who's running it.
Absolutely. All right, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. I've got a jet.
Okay.
Let's
Cool. Well, this was a fun
sign off.
chat.
This is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like heavy the last couple of weeks. I like it. We were like very heavy in like broader business talk, which I think is cool. I think just seeing the ways that this technology and marketing integrate into a broader business is really important because it is an organism. You know what I mean? These are cells. The business itself is the organism. And all of these things, technology, tech stack, your sales team, your marketing, you can't have a malignant part of the organization or it will just start to eat the healthy cells.
Yeah.
So I like these discussions of how things fit into the broader picture of business.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's fun. Cool.
Hell
Well,
yeah.
this has been the Tenfold AI podcast. Big thanks to our sponsor, Promode.ai. I've heard they're okay.
Yeah. All
I'm
right.
Heather. This is Matt, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.